What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on the 2.5 Tmaxx. Now if you remember, this is the truck that I bought used, so I didn't get it brand new. I've had to go through it a little bit and fix this and that on it. One of the things that was broke on it was the easy start. The glow igniter wire was broke and it didn't go to the plug anymore. So I've been having to use a glow igniter stick, which I prefer to heat the glow plug with. To me, it seems like it gets a little bit hotter, and you can preheat it before you start spinning the motor over. But using two different systems, I'm using the easy start one to spin the motor. I'm using the glow igniter to heat the plug. It's becoming a hassle. Your truck cuts off, you gotta run over there with both wands. So today we're going to be replacing the easy start with a Tmaxx pull starter, and while we're in there, we've got some gears we're going to upgrade. So we've got a 22 tooth clutch bell that we're going to be replacing the 20 tooth, and I've got a 72 Spur that I'm going to be replacing the 72. That's going to give us a little bit more top end, and I'm hoping we'll be able to play with the shift points on the 2-speed transmission to get it where it doesn't bog. And it still has really good top speed. Alright, so let's get this body off of here. The first thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to take this fuel tank off. And that is removed by, let's see, 4 Phillips head screws on the bottom. And then we can pop off this fuel line. Sometimes they get stuck, you need to break them loose. And we got another fuel line under here. Make sure there's no fuel in it or you'll be leaking everywhere. And that's it. Now with the truck out of the way, we'll get a better look at the easy start. This only actually held in by 3 little screws right here. This whole back plate will come off, so it's actually going to free up a lot of room on the truck and save a little bit of weight. You're going to want to make sure that this one-way bearing comes out the same way that you put it in. Or you put it in the same way that it came out. Because as the name implies, it only spins one way. And you don't want to be rotating the motor over backwards, and if you put it in backwards, the cord will not recoil. So you'll know right away if you put it in backwards. There you have it. Verify that the engine's spinning the correct way. It's coming back in. And there's your pull start compared to the easy start. A lot smaller package, gonna make more room in the truck. It's a little bit lighter, and as long as you don't stress the string too much, it's more reliable in my opinion. Right, so the next order of business is we're going to replace the clutch bell. And one thing you want to notice when replacing these is they have a little bit of shaft play. And you change the shaft play by putting shims behind your C-clip here. Now if it doesn't move at all, that means it's too tight, and if it moves a lot, it's going to be too loose. And pretty much the way that I set mine up is I start off as loose as it'll go, and I add shims until it doesn't move anymore. And once it doesn't move anymore, take one of the shims out and you should be good. Normally, most of these are only going to take 1 to 2 shims from what I've seen, but we'll get started with that. And then pull your belt off. As you can see on this one, it only had 1 shim in it. We had a bearing on the inside and a bearing on the outside, and the bearing on the outside is stuck here, which is fine. This is a good time. You can inspect your clutch spring, make sure there's no excessive wear on that. Inspect your pads here, make sure that's not worn. These look pretty good, so we're just going to swap everything out. You have your bearings in, one front and one on the back. I'm going to set this down, and then this one's pretty much the same way that the other one was, so I'm really going to start with that 1 shim. It should be the same. And I'm going to put my clip on. Make sure it locks in, and then check your in play. As you can see, a little bit of in play. 1 more shim, it wouldn't move, and without the shim, it would have been too loose. So we're gonna make sure it spins freely, and that's done now too. Okay, so the next piece is gonna be replacing the spur gear. And we're gonna get rid of these wires here in a second also. These are all the wires that went to the easy start, so we are not gonna use these anymore. And we will end up taking it all the way out. Now the easy start is completely removed. So now we'll start on the spur. Like I said, we're going down 2 teeth on this one to make it smaller. And we will get our multi-tool. Loosen this. So we got the nut. We've got the adjuster spring. And then you will have 2 plates on the back. Got a little groove in it. And then you'll have the same on the other side. You want to make sure that they're not extremely worn or have any weird wear marks or nicks in them. And the holes here, you're going to have little pins. I'm actually missing one right there. I think it just fell out. You can fill all these up if you want to. As you can see, I've got 2 different ones. I got the little red one and the little black one. It's not necessary to run it all the way. This one, I've used on another truck. I had every other one in there. I'm gonna put it in like that. I normally run my slipper clutch all the way tight, so it doesn't need those pads so much. I feel like the slipper clutch or the clutch belt has enough give on a nitro for me to be able to run the slipper all the way tight. Now on electric cars, there's no clutch, so I like to run that little bit looser so it slips some. Clean off the grease off of this. Now, lining this up sometimes can be a little bit tricky. It might be easier to stand the truck up and drop it down. Get that for y'all can see it a little bit better. We'll drop through our pressure spring on and put the nut back on. Like I said, I normally run my slipper all the way tight. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that all the way down. Make sure it spins straight. If you don't have the pegs properly aligned, then it will wobble, and then it's going to be really hard to set your gear mesh. Now the last piece of this is going to be dropping the engine back onto its mounts. Now the way the Tmaxx is set up, it has the mounts here, and then it has mounts that mount to the chassis. Now if all we had done was replace the pull starter, we would be done once we put the engine back on the mounts, tighten everything down, lock tight on the screws, we'd be done. We'd hook up our connection, throttle linkage, and put our fuel tank on, we'd be done. But since we've changed the size of the spur and we changed the size of the clutch bell, we're gonna have to adjust our gear mesh. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that off camera real quick, get everything done. It's gonna be hard for y'all to see, but I explain what I did when I'm done. Alright, we just got everything back together. Like I said, I went ahead and set the gear mesh and got everything done off camera. The key that you want to check with your gear mesh, everybody does their own different way with gear mesh. Some people use the paper method. I like to do mine by feel and sight. Can't really do the Tmaxx by sight because you can't see the mesh in there. But you want to make sure that this spins freely. That'll show you that it's not too tight. But you also want to hold the clutch bell still, and you're going to move the spur ever so slightly. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it's moving ever so slightly. And that's going to tell you that it's not too tight. Some people like to run theirs looser, some people like to run theirs tighter. I might try to make a video on a truck that's a little bit easier to see so you can get more of an idea of what I'm talking about with the mesh. But once you get that set, like I said, we got the fuel tank in, we got the fuel lines on, pop the air filter back on, and we'll put zip ties back on the exhaust, and we will be ready to go. Alright guys, well I appreciate y'all watching that video. Hopefully you learned a little something today. I'm excited to get this truck back out and running. The pull start is going to make my life easy. I prefer that method. Some people don't, but it's whatever you like. And I'm excited to see what these new gears will do. I'm hoping the 2.5 is kind of a small motor for this big truck. That's why they eventually upgraded to the 3.3 in the Tmaxx. But this one runs pretty strong, and I think we got about 30 mile an hour out of it. So maybe we can hit 32, 33, maybe 35. I don't know. We'll see. But like I said, I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you next time.